Hello learners, welcome to section 6 of Unit 1, Basic Concepts of Assessment in the course Assessment in Maths Education. My name is Munkayela Dasmani. I am your course instructor. In the previous section, we look at principles of assessment, and then we said that assessment should focus on how students learn. It should be valid and reliable. It should be fair and ethical, and a lot. So we mentioned a lot over there. So this section we are looking at characteristics of a good mathematics classroom assessment. So by the end of this session, you should be able to state and explain characteristics of a good classroom assessment. So, characteristics of good classroom assessment. What do you think will be the features, some of the features of good classroom assessment? The first of its kind is being mutually beneficial. Classroom assessment requires the active participation of students and teachers. You should remember that the main beneficiaries of the class exercises you do, the class tests and homework, journals, are all the students. So the main focus is the students. So with this, you should ensure that they are actively involved in the assessment process. So that is being mutually beneficial. The next one is learner-centeredness. It is true that classroom assessment can be used to improve teaching. You agree with me? However, your primary focus should be on observing and improving students' learning rather than observing and improving teaching. So you improve teaching yourself, but the main focus should be student learning. You do the assessment for student learning. The students are the reason why you go to school day in and day out to go and teach. So your focus should be learner-centeredness. You should drive towards student learning. The next is teacher-directedness. Classroom assessment respects the autonomy, academic freedom, and professional judgment of teachers because you know what you have taught and the characteristics of your student. You are the best person to determine what the assessment format should be, the learning targets that you want to assess at a particular point in time, and how to use the information gathered to support the unique needs of students. So with this, it's very important so that as a teacher directness, even if you have to make use of existing items such as WAEC past question paper, you need to be clear why you are using that. Not necessarily you are just bringing past question and then everything. No, you should be clear and concise. Let the student know why you are using that. Okay, so that is another. The next one is it is context specific. As teachers, our classroom assessments need to respond to the particular needs of a student and the nature of mathematics. That's why we say that it is context specific. On the issue of learner characteristics, you need to determine what your students' strengths and weaknesses are and how the information to be obtained can be used to inform your specific classroom needs. This means that what works in one class may not necessarily work in another classroom. So it depends on the context of the students, and that's how the assessment must be conducted. So the next of the characteristics of good classroom assessment is that the mathematics assessment the need for it to be built on good teaching practice. The need for it to be built on a good teaching practice. And I know you understand teaching practice. Before you can become a math teacher, you should have gone through teaching practice, a good one indeed. So records of classroom assessment should be used to build on existing good practices. Thus, we should strive to make it more systematic, more flexible, and more effective. As a teacher, one of the aims of the classroom assessment should be to collect feedback on students' learning and use that feedback to inform teaching. Yes, you should always adhere to that. Assessment provides an opportunity for us as a teachers to learn about the work of teaching. Because once you conduct assessments, it helps you to learn about what is going on in the teaching. So whether you have to revise, you have to go ahead, you have to reteach, so it's very, very critical and very, very important. So the next of the features of assessments, this next feature is feedback loop, that is ongoing. Feedback loop, that's ongoing. Classroom assessment should be an ongoing process. Remember, formative assessment should be an ongoing process. A process of creating and maintaining a classroom feedback loop. Such a loop should make room for changes to be made based on the classroom results and student feedback. So the aim here is to provide teachers with information on what, how much, and how well students are learning. Remember the steps: what, how, and how. The focus of classroom assessments, example is the school-based assessment, should not only be on test but on quality of responses teachers receive. So it's very, very necessary. So even if you are unable to grade classroom assessment, it is important that students have some feedback that guides their learning in terms of common mistakes they make, how to present their work so that they obtain full mark, how to reason through in order to get a full mark. So how to read through mathematical concepts or texts to get a full. So it's very, very important. Feedback loop is very necessary. You should always mark your work, give the student feedback. So if you conduct assessment and you don't give feedback to the student, like the student have done nothing, because they don't know the end result. They should know the end result, whether they will perform well, they were on right path, or they wasn't. The feedback is very necessary. As a classroom teacher, make sure you give feedback to your student. So in this session, we looked at the features of mathematics classroom. So the features are being mutually beneficial, the need for it to be built on good teaching practice, feedback loop that is ongoing, very, very necessary, and is context specific. And then we also say that as the assessments should be teacher directedness and the need to be built on good teaching practice. So thank you, and then find more of these informations on the course outline.